Hello, everyone. Wishing you all a very good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Adrija Roy Chaudhary, and I'm going to host this extraordinary event with a charismatic personality and a building automation expert, Shraddha. Shraddha Machli. Hi, Shraddha.
Hi Adrija, I'm honored to be a part of this event. Wishing you all a very good evening, good morning, and good afternoon.
Now, do you know, Shraddha, there has been an amazing response from not only the national building automation community, but also from around the world.
That's so amazing to know, Adrija. The world is full of diamonds and gems, and we are having some of them here today. A very warm welcome to all building automation experts, enthusiasts from all over the globe participating in today's InTalk event. Yes, today we are celebrating the first ever BAC Day.
Shraddha, please hold on now. What is this BAC day?
Yes, Adrija. BAC Day is a synonym for Building Automation Community Day. Not just building automation, but building automation community. And why community? Because being a part of community makes us feel as though we are part of something greater than ourselves. It gives us opportunities to connect with people, to reach our goals, and makes us feel safe and secure. INBAC is about this building automation community, which connects buildings as well as people. Technology is what connects everybody throughout the world. This is our techno-social movement, connected with technological field and a social impact. And today's InTalk event, we have Vision 2030, that is Smart Infrastructure of Digital India.
Wonderful, Shraddha. Thanks for the information. Lovely. INBAC Association is extremely grateful to its eminent speakers for kindly accepting our invitation to enrich this event by sharing their proficient thoughts on a very crucial topic, Vision 2030, Smart Infrastructure of Digital India. Thank you all. Now, before we move ahead with this InTalk event, let's know a bit about INBAC Association. INBAC, the leading integrated building automation community in India, is a community of all building automation stakeholders, starting from system integrators, OEMs, consultants, facility managers, to government bodies, educational institutes, building owners, suppliers, who are collectively working towards the cause of interoperable, data driven, connected, energy efficient, and secure smart spaces in India. INBAC empowers you to connect by engaging in various public private partnerships, collaborate by providing user and enterprise centric platform to enhance your global networking, create by providing an ecosystem to create value driven solutions. INBAC Association aims to drive standardization within the building automation community in India by creating awareness about various building automation technologies and open communication protocols which meet the critical needs of Indian market. The objective of INBAC Association is to have one standard nationwide and across nations and pass on the benefits to the end user, builders, consultants, industries, and various government initiatives. INBAC leverages its strong connections worldwide to adopt various standards available and in use internationally. Now, I can see many people have started joining. A few more
Yes.
minutes to go. Yes, yes, Shraddha. So there's only a few more minutes to go to the fascinating InTalk event on the topic Vision 2030, Smart Infrastructure of Digital India, on the advent of first BAC Day, which is Building Automation Community Day.
Now, moving ahead, I would quickly brief all the viewers about today's flow of the session. We'll start with a welcome note by our very own Vijay Kumar Sanap. We have a keynote address by Honorable Shri Nitin G. Gadkari. Then there will be InTalk between our speakers for today for the topic of Vision 2030, that is Smart Infrastructure of Digital India. Roadmap of INBAC's Standardization and Education Committee to be shared by respective chairs, followed by a question and answer session of the audience and INTALK speakers. We'll finish it off by a thank you and closing note by a very own INBACer, Vikram Sinha Patil. I request all the viewers to keep the comments, the questions coming on and keep the chat live. This very minute, I hand over to our very own Vijay Kumar Sanap, who has an industry experience of over 2 decades, an educationalist by heart, and has all the required ingredients to fuel a techno-social movement like INBAC. Vijay, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. As we have a global audience here, and I'm thrilled, honestly. I would like to sincerely welcome you all to this spectacular and yet technically challenging event of BAC Day. I promise you that this is going to be an excellent learning for all of us, coupled with great celebrations. This is the first BAC Day, and we as an organization have crossed significant milestones and started heading successfully towards our goal, which will eventually benefit all of us. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you who are on this call and have already become part of this event. I also welcome our eminent speakers who will be enlightening us in the next few minutes with their amazing experiences and depth of knowledge on the subject. I must welcome all our esteemed proponents, BAC, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Government College of Engineering, Schneider Electric, Vignaharta, PCView Solutions, Mantech Intellisys, Belimo, Concord Technologies, TechBean Systems, and Intelligent Building Consultants, who have shown immense trust in us and helped us to arrange this exciting event. It is also important and a matter of pride for me to welcome our robust global partner, BACnet International, who stood by us in our good and not so good times and helped us all the way through. I would also like to welcome Underwriter Laboratories, who have just signed MOU with INBAC, and we together see a lot of synergy in moving forward towards our goal. Just to talk about INBAC, I personally believe that it is the need of an hour. As rightfully said, INBAC is a technical movement with a social cause. This makes it a very, very strong techno-social movement, and we all need to be part of it and make it successful. INBAC is covering the entire 360 degrees spectrum around us, be it OEM, user, integrator, consultant, or a student. INBAC is for everyone, and it has something for everyone participating in it. We believe that India is the country where INBAC is needed the most. But let's understand that we have a global canvas, and everyone around the world needs it. It not only addresses the cause of automating buildings and making them smart, intelligent, and efficient, but also helps Mother Earth by virtue of addressing the burning issue of energy saving, optimization, and sustainability. So it is my humble request for all to participate in this noble cause and make it a huge success. I once again welcome you all to this event and request you to sit tight and enjoy the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijay. That was a wonderful start to the event, isn't it, Shraddha?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now I would love to call upon our very own Sakhi Chandran, founder and president of INBAC Association, to talk about our honorable guest for this evening. Sakhi, over to you.
Thank you, Adrija. What a great honor for me to welcome Honorary Shri Nitinji Gadkari, Minister for Road, Transport and Highways in Government of India. He is also the longest serving Minister for Road, Transport and Highways. Our very own Mumbai-Pune Expressway is his brainchild. American roads are not good because America is rich, he quotes. But America is rich because American roads are good. He currently representing the Nagpur constituency in the Lok Sabha, and he's a lawyer by occupation. He is passionate about upliftment of poor. His initiative, Pradhan Mantri Graha Sadhak Yojana, an ambitious rural road connecting scheme, which is helping many such rural parts get access to necessary aids and also uplift the poor. Why am I telling you all this on the Building Automation Community platform? These all are terrific transformations to infrastructure with great social impact, aren't they? And it is indeed immense pleasure to know Nitinji's view about Building Automation Community Day 2021. I'm sure you are as excited as I am. Nitinji, you are such a visionary leader who can look at the potential and extend your guidance and support. And that is precisely what you have done with INBAC Association. Your work and your words inspire us all. Before I share with you the address by Honorary Shri Nitinji Gadkari, I would certainly like to mention that we could connect to Nitinji because of Shri Niyant Ji Pathak and Shri Santosh Ji Raktwan. Sir, your passion towards the community dedicated to technology with social impact is commendable.
Congratulations to INBAC Association on initiating Building Automation Community Day on 16 December 2021. To create the smart infrastructure of digital India, it is very important that the public and private market stakeholders come together on a neutral platform. This is the time for the country that we need to accept the new successful practices and technology in the world. And may it be a residential or commercial building, we all need to ensure energy saving, safety, security, comfort, and convenience, and building performance. The new reality post-pandemic also demand least possible manual interventions and top-notch cyber security. As far as the present situation in the developed area is concerned, it is the time for the country that we have to use the appropriate technology for our building construction. I am sure that in this conference, you are all thinking on the line to make the futuristic technology for building construction, and which is going to definitely give a qualitative change in the field of construction. I am giving my all best wishes to all of you. Your new research, new innovations, your new technology, and especially using of IT into the different type of construction field is really important, and when which you are going to plan for that, this your appropriate vision is going to helpful for the industry. Also, there is a huge potential for all of you for big export. We have a lot of opportunity to develop real estate, and particularly in Dubai, where a lot of Indian contractors and Indian architects are doing excellent jobs. All over the world, there is a lot of demand for architects and engineers, and I feel that by having the good technology, good innovation, good research, and with the successful technology, 100% we are going to increase our market share in the world. I am giving my all best wishes to all of you, and also the association for arranging this convention, and my best luck for all the stakeholders. Once again, thank you very much. Namaskar.
Isn't it incredible? Thank you very much, Nitinji. Thank you very much.
That was really humbling, Zaki. Thank you so much. INBAC Association is honored to be acknowledged by you, Nitinji. What better encouragement can we get to initiate on this BAC Day 2021? You spoke about technology, you spoke about innovation and research, and you always spoke about how we can do what to the world. That is very, very motivational. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you, Nitinji. It's a privilege to have your support. Now, moving on, Shraddha, do you know it's somebody's birthday today?
I love birthdays because I love cakes.
Okay, so here we go. It's INBAC's second anniversary today. And we have
Wow.
2 long eventful years with achieving a lot of milestones, isn't it?
Oh yes, Adrija, it has been incredible journey. I mean, 2 years already. So why don't we watch a journey video together of this amazing journey we've had? Shall we watch the video with everyone?
Yes.
Sakhi once came to me and she bounced this idea will spread awareness of the BMS, and I actually immediately jumped into it and said, Sakhi, this is something which world needs and India needs. Sakhi probably was having this idea for a long time in her mind, and she was trying to articulate how to go about it. More and more people joined this movement, and then it is picking up, and it is need of an hour, need of it for the day. And it's not just for that BMS community, because what happens is putting BMS actually gives you a great deal of energy saving, and that is helping save energy, and that is indirectly or directly it is also helping Mother Earth. And that's what Sakhi aptly she puts it as a techno-social movement, and that is precisely it is, and that's what INBAC is, and I definitely would be trying to contribute to INBAC as far as possible and as much as I can.
When Sakhi told me about INBAC, I was quite excited because I come from an IoT kind of a background, and we talk a lot about what we can do with help of technology, analytics in a building, and how that can help somebody. And the very crucial part, it's all based on the basic automation that is there in the building, right? How equipment stock, and that is the building automation system, and that has to be communicable, right? And many places I found a challenge in terms of systems not communicating. They're all on some proprietary protocol and all that, and IoT on top of it wouldn't make any sense. And when Sakhi told me about a community where everybody will come together, collaborate, and make sure that mission develops, I was very excited. My journey so far has been really great. A lot of learning, a lot of interactions, and it is fun being a part of INBAC, and I wish the whole team a whole lot of success and all the best.
So my journey on INBAC was, I was a little skeptical when INBAC was introduced to me, because Indian standards and Indian industry was never geared up to accept this as a subject. BMS was always something which was unknown platform into the industry. Everybody knew about fire access CCTV, but integration was never looked as an important factor. But for a building industry or a building to communicate well, integration is the most important factor. When I met Sakhi, she explained to me her involvement into the industry where they're working in Siemens, giving support to a lot of automation projects having worked abroad. So I said, why not take a try? All of us can come together, and it's an integrated approach. So why not interface with people who work on the building automation? There are a lot of unorganized and organized companies who are doing integration, but it's like bringing multiple protocols to talk the same language, and that is always a challenge. It's a target for us and a challenge for us. I said, let's get into that challenge and we'll take it forward.
2018, when I met Sakhi for the first time, she expressed this idea of INBAC. And I was really curious what exactly INBAC means. She explained that INBAC is a platform which intends to bring all the stakeholders of the building automation together. And I thought it was a fantastic idea because being a veteran in building automation industry, I never had such a platform where we could bring all the professionals together, share the ideas, share the common concerns, and bring in the fresh ideas. Really very happy that this was initiated, and immediately I decided to be a part of INBAC journey, and this is how I'm an INBACer now.
Since the inception, I always thought, how do I take it ahead? Whom do I meet? How do I tell about my concept? And here, if INBAC has been able to start and continue the work, I give a lot of credit to BACnet International who supported, especially with their wisdom of creating a techno-social moment. Now, when it comes to techno-social moment, it is very important that the industry leaders in that market support the techno-social moment. And I'm very positive about the market in India, wherein there are a lot of connects, there are a lot of visionary leaders who are supporting the platform, which will create awareness and education about building automation. If we look at any smart city, and we are talking about hundreds of smart cities in India, 33% of the infrastructure has to be the buildings. Now, when we look at the buildings, we spend around 70% plus of our time inside the buildings. Nowadays, it is increased. So, any building has to be very importantly safe. It has to be simple to use, no complications, and it has to be sustainable. With INBAC and with all the leaders in INBAC, we are working for the smart infrastructure of digital India, and it is something that it creates a lot of enthusiasm and encouragement within to work for your very own nation.
Wow, we are stronger together. So this journey has been really awesome, and we look forward to many more years ahead. Now let me talk about the INTALK event of today. This is a space where we want to discuss, deliberate on futuristic technology aspects, understand perspectives from industry stalwarts, and the vision they hold about smart infrastructure of digital India.
Thank you, Shraddha. Now it's time to welcome our first INTALK speaker, Swapnil Joshi. He has a prestigious technology background in automation, IoT in buildings, and application engineering for HVAC and building control. He has been actively driving engineering standards, designing tools, and technology system redesign initiatives across business units in America, Europe, and Asia Pacific region. He is also a core member of the Indian Antarctic Program for Technology Solutions. He was a part of the leadership team for 34th Indian Science Expedition to Antarctica. Over to you, Swapnil.
Hey, thanks, Adrija. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's been a wonderful, part to be a part of the INBAC Day celebrations. And I know that I don't have the luxury of time, so I'm kind of going to get straight into what these aspects are, in the conversation today. So if you can just give me a minute. Over the course of of 2020-21, the world has undergone unprecedented change across all sectors of modern society, right? To uncover a new normal that is yet to reveal itself. Uh, the COVID-19 era has put a lot of things out of focus, but on the other hand, has highlighted areas that are integral to the safe and sustainable future of our planet and, of course, its inhabitants. The massive shift in the way people work, collaborate, and live within their communities, and the increased focus on wellness has emphasized the need for transformation on how a place, its surroundings, and the environment need to be managed and operated. Therefore, the conversation today on the eve of the Building Automation Community Day is relevant as it gives us an opportune time to disrupt, reflect, and also gives us a unique opportunity for transformation of the Indian built environment. Uh, the built environment represents the highest carbon intensity, economic might, and emotional connect amongst all sectors of the economy. Among all end use sectors, the building sector plays a central role for a zero carbon future. Buildings globally already account for 40% of global greenhouse gas emissions, with building operations accounting for a whooping 28%, and embodied carbon emissions from materials and constructions accounting for nearly 11%. When you look at it from an Indian context, India is the world's fourth largest economy, the third largest global greenhouse gases emitter, and the fourth largest electricity consumer. An expanding economy, population, urbanization, and industrialization mean that India is projected to see the largest increase in energy demand. While India has been piecing together efforts to address climate change, the COVID-19 crisis has effortlessly dismantled the very resource intensive fabric that underlines our economy and has brought forth disastrous consequences of unprecedented magnitude. Given that there is going to be a significant disruption that the pandemic has made on regular operations in the background of climate change, enterprises or organizations are highly concerned about creating safe and healthy buildings to conduct business and secure spaces for all employees, for all their employees. A renewed focus on individual, organizational, and societal empowerment is seen as the definitive path forward to leverage the opportunities created by COVID-19, which also includes a drastic drop in emissions, unprecedented merging of multiple stakeholder and sectoral interests, and emergence of digital technologies as the unifying factor. Buildings essentially last 50 to 100 years and require retrofits. 50% buildings that will be standing in 2050 are yet to be built. Most recent approaches in the built environment bring forth the strategic transformation of India's diverse built environment, and that is needed to achieve radical decarbonization and inclusive wellness and resilience. This requires balancing the three spheres of people, which is essentially equity, planet, which is environment, and prosperity, which is nothing but economy. There are three questions that essentially we need to ask ourselves when we talk about futuristic built environment. When we talk about people, can the shift towards equitable health and wellness help transform the built environment? So when we've looked at the last 2 years, right, there has been a big emphasis on health. So shifting our focus towards equitable health and wellness help transform the built environment. That's a question that we need to ask from a people perspective. In a sense, this is equity consideration for the built environment. When we talk about planet, can we sustain the momentum of environmental revitalization that was made possible by the drop in GHG emissions? Right? I mean, we've heard stories about being able to see mountain peaks from 300 and 400 odd kilometers because the indoor air quality improved. Can we sustain this momentum? In a sense, this is the environmental consideration. Then when we talk about prosperity, can we as a community harness the emerging collective concern to redefine consumerism and develop business models that promote environmental vitality and wellness? In essence, this is the economic consideration. So when we look at the built environment, and specifically the Indian built environment, in the background of COP26, three key considerations around people, planet, and prosperity and the questions that are posed are something that we need to ponder and look at. Carbon footprint is a universal pain point that underlines climate change, disrupted ecosystems, and biodiversity loss. Future strategies need to radically cut resource dependency and carbon intensity. Operating and maintaining the built environment carries the single largest carbon footprint and therefore holds the largest opportunity for decarbonization. Industries and manufacturing processes are nearly reaching their saturation point in terms of efficient operations. For maximizing effectiveness, the built environment thus needs to embrace sustainable strategies that involve geographically smaller resource and energy dependencies, revitalize associated ecosystem services, and avoid any disruption, pollution, or contamination. There is a potential for appropriate intervention and/or measures to be identified and adopted in every sector of the built environment. Decarbonization, democratization, and digitalization are therefore the three key drivers, with intervention across the 5 levers that will help set us on the journey towards smart infrastructure. So when we talk about a zero carbon built environment, we look at decarbonize, digitalize, and democratize as 3 drivers across 5 different levers, which are research and development, technology, policy, investments, and human capital. And this was reflected in the message that the Honorable Minister Nitinji communicated earlier in the conversation today. The pandemic, if you will, has effortlessly dismantled normal life and how we work, travel, communicate, dwell, and operate in buildings. The digital network has prevented a total socio-economic collapse and enabled a semblance of normalcy. The silver lining, however, is that digitalization has allowed us to go from isolation to inclusion. Access to mobile and internet communications has rapidly amalgamated businesses to coordinate and maintain operations. Research shows that 94% of micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs, have relied on information technology during the COVID lockdown. Digitalization, even in normal times, not only during COVID-19, but even in normal times, can enable transformative effectiveness in the built environment. The value chain, resource consumption, and CO2 emissions, and in the process create broad individual, organizational, and societal value. Digitalization in the built environment is a transformation that encompasses 3 different aspects. Digitization, where you go out and acquire data at varying levels of granularity, such as advanced metering, electric vehicle charging, renewable energy generation, and so on and so forth. Digital change, that essentially talks about deriving intelligence through analysis, visualization, and enabling actionability. And then digital transformation, which talks about digital access to equitably unlock social and business value, particularly in the Indian informal and fragmented construction sector. The shift from industrial age to information age is already occurring. The unique regional context of India must be considered to unlock digitalization opportunities. Our vision is a zero carbon built environment, and this is the key recommendations that you see on the slide are the 10 recommendations that we made to the Niti Aayog a couple of months back around our vision of zero carbon built environment. Our vision is a zero carbon built environment to achieve equitable wellness and resilience by 2050. Zero carbon is synonymous with zero emissions and zero energy. The slide that you see summarizes 10 key recommendations along 3 drivers: decarbonize, democratize, and digitalize, to enable short-term early wins, which is 2022 to 2025, medium-term, which is 25 to 35, and longer-term pathways, which is 2035 to 50. Each stakeholder may set and orient early, medium, and long-term goals using their lever of influence, whether it is research and development, technology, human capital, policy, and economic investment to achieve the transformative vision. We are currently at a singular inflection point where digital transformation supports sustainability in the built environment across all sectors. And these sectors are residence, agriculture, administration, industry and commerce, education and research, infrastructure services, and transport and communication. Digitalization brings opportunities for commonality and integration amidst geographical and cultural diversity in the living environment, helping to align stakeholders on common shared metrics to manage complex information, enhance data driven decision making, ensure inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability to promote overall wellness, enhancing productivity, social enrichment, and environmental revitalization. This for us is a decisive decade. Time is of the essence. Thank you.
Thank you, Swapnil, for your valuable insights on the transformation of Indian built environment. Vision 2030, a zero carbon built environment, which can be achieved by three drivers: decarbonize, democratize, digitalize. How well said.
That's right, Adrija. Very, very informative and enlightening talk. Now I'll pass it on to our very own Rajesh Adangale, an industry veteran who has been working closely for more than 20 years. He will walk us through INBAC's standardization roadmap. So, viewers, brace yourselves. Standardization is coming. Rajesh, the stage is all yours.
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the viewers. I'm Rajesh Rangale, Chair Standardization Committee, INBAC. If we talk of any reputed brand, they use the standard procedures for manufacturing, packaging, distribution, and advertising across international markets. They may tweak the process a bit to adopt local compliances or measures, but from business standpoint, they maintain some level of consistency in the product or service they offer. That means uniformity in quality of products and services is always maintained across globe, irrespective of where they are being bought or serviced. So what is the difference between standardization process that are followed globally and locally here in India, specifically for building automation market? Global building automation industry, be it in Europe and Americas, have already endured many adaptations. Over a period of time, they have witnessed a transformation in all the aspects from being enhanced from proprietary to open protocol based solutions. Uniformity has been brought in the quality of all their deliverables, be it product specifications, solution design, implementation strategies, programming guidelines, or aftermarket service procedures. This process of maintaining consistency across all the products and services have benefited the stakeholders of buildings with respect to constant quality of products or services, uniform design guidelines, helping designers and programmers to reuse the function blocks, the design blocks, thus saving on repetitive efforts, and finally saving the valuable time. It also brings in ease of installation procedures. It brings in safety in the workplace and enables easy handover process from one function to another. All this accumulates to happy customer, repeat business, and ultimately helps in maximizing profits of an organization. INBAC Standardization Committee aimed towards working on adopting these guidelines that are globally followed and utilize them into local building automation market. The Indian building automation market stood approximately at $2,000 million in the year 2021 and is forecasted to grow at annual growth of over 11% till 2027. It will be worthwhile to spend time and efforts in embracing global standards and bring Indian products and services at par with the international brands. We don't aim to be contented with this effort. We also look forward to assimilate these norms, make them better, and give them back to global market so that they may reuse them wherever they feel applicable. This can only be achieved by entering into collaborations with international organizations who work exclusively on standardization. We already have been successful in associating with global organizations and look forward to many such collaborations in the near future. INBAC Standardization Committee is dedicated towards making this change happen and look forward to active cooperation from all the stakeholders of building automation. Through this platform, we invite building automation professionals to be a part of INBAC initiative. We urge all of you to become a voice and not an echo. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajesh. That's definitely a good start towards standardization journey. And it's so critical to have standardization in place. Moving on, let me welcome our next speaker for today, Mr. Salvatore Cataldi. Salvatore Cataldi is a designer by profession. He designs software and distributed automation systems. Salvatore has played a key role to integrate proprietary systems into BACnet standard systems. The result of it is seamless integration of multiple systems in building automation space, and we see it happening even today. He also leads BACnet Europe Interest Group's Technical Working Group and serves as a voting member in ASHRAE SSPC 135 for the BACnet standard and ASHRAE 223 standard for semantic interoperability. Please join me to welcome Mr. Salvatore Cataldi. Over to you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for having me today. And wherever you are now in the world, I'm seeing in the list of participants so many people from all over the world. Wherever you are, I'm sure you're enjoying this event. Extremely important what we are delivering now during this event. So I'm going to share my screen and start telling you about our future, and our future is bright. And for sure, we will talk a lot about buildings and standardizations and the advantages, and I would like to introduce you to a real example. So first of all, let's start with buildings. So here you see a lot of different buildings, many different buildings for different purposes and with different goals and to achieve different results and to serve in different ways to humans. There is something that is that all these buildings are sharing together, and this is that these buildings are designed, built, and managed by professionals, by people. And these people need to be coordinated, need to coordinate themselves, need to collaborate, need to understand each other. This is extremely important to achieve any kind of results, especially when we want to create a building, which is something very, very complex. So in the building technology in Belimo, and I bring the experience from Belimo, in the building technology, in order to innovate building technology with sensor valves and actuators, which is our core business, we developed a method which is named SESIM. So SESIM helps us in understanding who are the different stakeholders, and it is related to 5 different aspects: the comfort, energy efficiency, safety, security, installation, and maintenance. And so the use of a clear method is essential in collecting and comparing consistent sets of information. And thanks to this method, we can identify what are the stakeholders. Now you see here on the right, a small portion of the stakeholder journey identifying the different personas. But the stakeholder journey is something more complex, richer, and especially in what that last longer, that has a longer and wider development. So the complete stakeholder journey involves a lot of steps that are also supported by the digital artifacts and digital products. So what do we learn during the SESIM campaign? We learned that the technological aspects of a building are growing. The complexity in design, construction, and maintenance grows. Compliance to standards is of extreme importance. And then collaboration and communication among stakeholders brings efficiencies and new opportunities. How can we support these aspects? We support these aspects with properly designed digital devices, because these devices can support these aspects and the related processes. So we have been talking about devices, digital devices, and in this specific, I can show you now an example of our device and its digital component. So this device in the physical world is integrated in HVAC systems, mechanically and electrically. And this device owns a digital component, a digital part. What is this digital part? This can be a representation of the device itself. As we integrate the physical device into HVAC system, we would also like to integrate its digital components and take the advantage of this. Specifically, we know that from the HVAC system, well, in order to get to an HVAC system, we have to design it. And the design of this system is usually just human readable, human understandable. In the digital era, we can work for, and we are working for the development of digital models that can allow us to describe the HVAC system, and so can integrate that digital component of the real device into the digital model of the HVAC system. So it is intuitive to see that this digital component I've been talking about is something that you for sure already heard many times. It's the digital twin of the device. And I would like to show you now a real example on how is it possible to interact with a digital device, with a digital twin, and why it is important to have this idea of digital twin. Let's take in consideration 3 buildings, for instance, 3 different buildings, and these buildings are managed, again, by people. So in one case, we have a house tenant, which is an individual. In another case, we have the bank, a building owner, and then a facility manager. Now imagine these 3 characters. They all subscribe a contract to an energy utility provider, and this energy utility provider has its own staff, so installer, commissioners, in order to provide the services. The energy provider installed our energy valve. Our energy valve is a device that is able to measure the energy consumed by a building, by an HVAC system, and also to control and to, in some way, optimize this energy consumption. As I told you before, this digital device is having a digital component, a digital twin, and this digital twin is hosted in an ecosystem, in a digital ecosystem. Now, the energy provider is willing to provide different kinds of services or complex services. So a part of these services is developed by a third-party company, and this energy utility provider subscribed a contract with this third-party company. For instance, in this example, a contract to provide the billing service, to provide invoices. Now, the third-party company could go physically on each of these buildings and read the consumption from our devices, or could develop its own connector to interact with the digital twin of the devices that are on the field. And you can see now that the paradigm is changing. If I can connect and interact with a digital twin remotely through the internet. I don't need anymore to go on the field, and the game in some way changes. There are advantages, there are new opportunities. And for sure, you can see that in all of these different connections and arrows, there is a digital component, there is a digital part that is connecting all these different people together, different people with different goals that are working in order to achieve consistent results. Now, it is extremely important to see that in order these people to collaborate, they need in some way to speak the same language. I say in some way because it's not just a matter of language, it's also a matter of understanding. And this is where the standards and standardization come in place. So in such a complex environment, standards and regulation play an important role. Standards come out of a process where the interested stakeholders sit at the table and discuss on coherent solution on the subject of the standard. And the aspects that are worth to be standardized are multiple. For instance, we can imagine energy consumption in this building. The subject of energy consumption, it's not only a matter of consuming less energy, less kilowatt during the operation of the building. It's not just like that. This subject has to be harmonized with other subjects like maintenance cost, predictive maintenance, or just the planning, or for instance, has to be harmonized with the subject of the realistic ability to predict consumption during the design phase in order to be able to decide what are our goals, what are the goals of this business, of this building. So another aspect is, for instance, the realistic capability to measure the energy consumption of the building in operation and bring these values, this information back into an harmonized framework. And these were just few aspects of the energy consumption subject. And then we can go forward and we think at other subjects that are intertwined and are extremely relevant in the digital era. For instance, the data protection. So what information do we acquire? How do we manipulate the information? Who owns the information? For instance, in Europe is now almost ready the Data Act, ready to be published. And this Data Act faces some of the concerns about these subjects on data protection. And this subject is extremely complex and requires harmonization in order to bring all the stakeholders together. And as soon as we talk about data protection, we should also think on how to protect those systems that are dedicated to acquisition of the data, manipulation, and storage. And in this case, we are talking about cybersecurity. And it is so important and clear that how the standardization of cybersecurity can bring extremely high values. So the benefits of standardization in the digital era are the possibility of innovation. The possibility of the standardization allows us to create and define interfaces, allows us to have a better market access, to reduce costs, because we can now think specifically at our product, and then this product will be harmonized because it follows a standard. And then product safety, because the minimum requirements in these standards are already bringing our product at a level that is safe. And then risk reduction, liability risk. So the product will be less prone to risk about liability. What you see here on the right is the picture of the rendering of our new headquarters in India. And when I asked to my colleagues to explain to me more about this building, I started falling in love with this project, because the more they were explaining to me, the more I was seeing that the possibility, the standardization, and the possible and actual collaborations to achieve important goals were absolutely were the main lead of this project. So, for instance, as I was saying before, standardization allows all these things I told you and objective assessment. So this building has been, for instance, pre-certified as platinum from the IGBC. And this means that this building is having high goal, is aiming to achieve a high rate, a high standard in terms of energy, not only consumption, but all the things that are related to energy consumption in across the life of the building. And we can go a little bit in detail about this building and see, for instance, that yes, okay, we designed this building. We hired a study consulting study in order to properly design the building. And all the names that you see here on the right are the different companies that are collaborating and working together not only to the design, but also to the definition and construction of this building, and to achieve the goal of this pre-certification, in order this pre-certification to become the real certification once the building will be finished. We are actually at the 52% of the development of this building. And for instance, in order to be clear on what are the goals, in this building, we have this system, we designed this system of a louver that can be opened and closed. And the control of this louver is meant in order to let the energy from outside, the sun, to get into the building, to control this. At the same time, we are having on the HVAC system some of those devices I showed you before, the energy valves. And we can understand what the impact is of opening and closing this louver on the energy consumption of the HVAC system, and optimize this behavior in order to reduce the consumption of energy and maximize the comfort inside the different rooms, the different environments. This was one of the possibilities. Another thing is that, for instance, we are using our valves in order to control the irrigation system. We are working with, for instance, when you see on the right, with the GF for specific plastic that is quite innovative. And we are working with the Stools factory for the PAC machines in our server room. And we are working with ALC controllers that are taking care of harmonization of the different activities, of the different automated operation in the building. And then all these different controllers are connected on a BAC over IP network. And they are harmonized by a building management system that is offered as a service, that is provided as a service. And it's the same building management systems that we are using also in our headquarters in Switzerland. It's exactly the same. It's not a copy. It's exactly that system. So we can also improve and harmonize the control and the sequence of operations of the different buildings together. We can compare, we can study this different operation and different outcome. So the more I go into details about this building, the more I see that without standardization, without the proper use of the different standards, and without proper consultants, and without all the people following those standards and taking care of bringing this concept together, such a building could not be developed, could not be built. And especially this kind of goal, this kind of certification could not be achieved without following the standards that are needed in the different subjects. So we have many other details about this building, especially on the different aspects. But I believe that the example is clear. The digital era is bringing us fantastic new opportunities. But the main goal is to make these opportunities feasible. And in order to achieve this goal, I believe that the concept of standardization, participating in standardization and adopt standards is one of the key factors that will bring to us the most of the goal we want to achieve. And my presentation is here at this end. And thank you everyone for having followed me till here. I'll be happy to have in the question and answer session to participate with you.
Thank you, Salvatore. That was very insightful to understand from your perspective in terms of the digitization and standardization. And especially the concept of digital twin, something that, we think of about the future is already here with the energy and, data protection, cybersecurity all combined. And this is what, we are right now. Thank you so much, Salvatore.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's a broken pencil.
A broken pencil, who?
Never mind, Shraddha, it's pointless.
That was a quite witty joke, Adrija. It actually reminds me of my engineering days,
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think most of us here can relate to it, Okay, so jokes apart, it's time to welcome a key pillar of INBAC now, Mr. Sudhir Panditrao. He is a remarkable educationist, global speaker and trainer with a career spanning over 36 years to guide us all on roadmap of Education Committee of INBAC Association. Over to you, Sudhir.
Thank you, Adrija. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all the viewers. I am Sudhir Panditrao, Chair, Education Committee, INBAC Association, and I'm presenting the roadmap for our Education Committee. First, I would like to, put forth the objectives of the Education Committee. The objectives include creating awareness, knowledge, skills, and mastery in building automation. These are the various steps or levels as you, work in the space of building automation. You need to graduate and go through these steps. So our focus will be on creating the awareness, knowledge, skills, and mastery. At the same time, we are working very closely with the Standards Committee, and we as an Education Committee are supporting the Standards Committee by providing technical inputs, keeping abreast with the global developments. And this is where, we really appreciate the, support given by BACnet International, as well as UL, Underwriters Laboratory, and many more which are in the pipeline. Then building use cases and documentation, very important while we work towards the standardization. My colleague Rajesh from the Standardization Committee has mentioned the importance of this. Then establishing standard operating procedures for testing, installation, and commissioning, and that would lead to validation and certification. So these are the key objectives as far as the Education Committee is concerned. Now this includes the activities of training at different levels, the foundational, the practitioner, and the expert. These are the levels. And then mentoring all the resources, all the people who are working in this building automation space. Apart from training, you require a lot of hand-holding and mentoring, grooming. So that's what we are looking at. And then certification assessments, and validations. So individual as well as organizational certifications and validations. Now, how do we do that? What are the ways for fulfilling our objectives? This is where the association comes into picture. This is where the contribution and support from all the stakeholders comes into picture. This is with the collaboration with the industries, product manufacturers, consultants, system integrators, all the system, all the stakeholders. We look forward to their contribution, towards this journey. At the same time, we look at building the collaborations with colleges and institutes. The professors, the students, they would also contribute to this journey. And while doing so, we are planning to create the pool of subject matter experts, SMEs, who have good knowledge, skills, and mastery in the field of building automation. Some of the milestones, this is of course an early stage, but we have envisaged some of the milestones which are put forward here. Like, we start with setting up a training academy, and in fact tomorrow is going to be our first event where we have organized this BACnet overview training. It's an overview, but yeah, we are starting our journey with that event tomorrow. We are looking forward to the international collaborations, and we work on development of various courses, and then we would develop the contents and start delivering those courses. And then, of course, as I already mentioned, the parallelly we will be working along with the standards committee. So these are some of the milestones, initial milestones. And of course, as we start moving along, as we start our journey from tomorrow, that's the first event. We are definitely going to add to many more milestones and goals, and work towards it, towards achieving these milestones and the goals. So thank you very much. That was a very brief kind of overview, and best wishes for your building automation journey. Look forward to keep on meeting you, being in touch with you. Thank you so much. You're all welcome for your suggestions, contributions. All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sudhir. That was quite enlightening. Thank you so much. Now it's time to welcome our next INTALK speaker, Mr. Sudhir Zutshi. He is an expert in strategic planning, business development, policy advocacy, regulations, and government affairs. Sudhir contributes to developing strategies and supporting initiatives for a robust conformity assessment framework in the country. He also represents UL at bilateral dialogues like Energy Corporation Program and Commercial and Standards Dialogue. Over to you, Sudhir.
First of all, can you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
I may have to share the screen. Please let me know when you can see the screen.
We can see it.
Okay, super. Thank you. First of all, congratulations to INBAC for completing their 2 years. Terrific work, and of course, really humbled to hear Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari ji. I think 2 takeaways from his message very clear, that we need to have futuristic innovations in building automation, and also ensure that we support the manufacturing, and so that we are able to India can become an outsourcing hub, primarily, of course, in the building automation products and systems. First of all, it's an honor and privilege to be part of this esteemed panel. I think my fellow panelists is already sort of laid the landscape, or if I would say, in terms of what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and how standardization is going to play a very, very critical role. So maybe I'll also share some thoughts to that in terms of adding to what my fellow panelists already sort of shared. I'm going in a full screen mode. Please let me know if you can see my full screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think Swapnil did talk about some of the challenges with respect to the building emissions, greenhouse emissions, and some of the challenges with respect to that. But I think you know, let me take the discussion or dialogue to the second level in terms of why do we see some of the pressure points or some of the trends globally in terms of that in turn will sort of catapult the growth of not only the smart infrastructure, smart buildings, but smart infrastructure per se, and of course in turn you know, support building automation industry as well. We see definitely there's a lot of focus now globally on UN because of the UN sustainability goals. We have climate change commitments. Recently, COP26, we had the world leaders sort of making commitments to climate change initiatives. We also have a new terminology, of course, in India also as well. And when I shift to the India slide, I will be talking about that as well. Is the Green New Deal? I think Europe, US, Australia, UK, everybody is talking about the Green Deal, and I think that sort of dovetails well with what Swapnil did mention about the decarbonize, digitize, and democratize. And then we see a lot of focus on renewables, cybersecurity, especially for the critical infrastructure, and yes, smart cities and infrastructure. It's a kind of a mantra across, and of course in India as well. And on top of it, we have the COVID and pandemic challenges. If I shift gears to India, I think if I see right now, in terms of some of the trends and enablers, if we see definitely Make in India is where there's a lot of impetus which government of India is doing in terms of Make in India. We have a Digital India program, which Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology is running, multiple initiatives on governance and stuff. But then there's also a focus on IoT, 5G, smart cities programs, and of course, a lot of focus on renewables, especially solar and energy storage systems. And where do you see actually leveraging the rooftops across buildings to power the whole building? And of course, maybe over a period of time, sort of work through net metering and sort of power the grid. Those initiatives are, if you see, some of the states are actively and aggressively working towards that as well. I think I wanted to focus here, especially on the commitments which our Honorable Prime Minister did made at a recently held Glasgow COP26 conference, where he did mention about the commitments with respect to 2030 as well as 2070. And of course, we must have also seen a paper which came from, which was released by World Economic Forum and A.T. Carney on some of those, how India can actually, the Green New Deal can actually spur India's economic development rather than drag its economic development. So if you see that, it definitely talks about some of the pillars and enablers in terms of how India can actually achieve the what do I say, 1 trillion economy by 2030. In terms of and there are areas where definitely there's a focus in this paper which was released by the World along with the World Economic Forum and A.T. Carney, which does talk about the solar part, which is the renewables. How do we and then the second pillar, which definitely talks about the mobility, the green mobility part of it, and the other part is the complete transformation in carbon intensive technologies towards a green technology. Humongous work which we have to do as in India if we really want to move towards the net zero goal of emissions. But then there is also a lot of focus on another pillar, which is building efficiency, if I would say, sort of complete retrofitting of buildings, or how do we ensure that buildings are efficient and also reduced emissions. And the last one is definitely on the how do we have sustainable agriculture. Having said that, I think some of these trends or enablers is definitely I see a great growth story for a building automation sector, and therefore I think it's a right time for the industry to sort of engage, invest, and sort of support this whole climate change initiative of the government of India, or support Make in India in terms of exporting and becoming an outsourced hub in building automation products or systems. I think I was also wanting to sort of share some of the initiatives government of India and other stakeholders have already taken. We know there's a lot of focus on cybersecurity for critical infrastructure, which definitely has touch points when it comes to security with smart buildings, smart infrastructure, and IoT. There's a lot of work happening as far as IoT devices is concerned, as far as guidelines, but there is still some work which needs to be done in that space. We do see smart cities and across focus across states, and we see there's a broad framework and there are some specific guidelines with respect to protocols and stuff. But I think there also some work needs to be done. As far as building energy efficiency programs, ESL runs that, but then we have Griha, and of course there's a lot of incredible work which has been done by ISRE and other associations in terms of sort of shaping this whole landscape of ecosystem from a building energy efficiency programs or and initiatives. Yes, government is focusing on a lot of R&D and innovation. It's not with respect to one sector, but across sectors there's a lot of focus. And you must have now seen also there's a lot of PLI schemes which government is sort of whether it's electronics, whether it is battery storage systems, or yesterday in fact cabinet issued a PLI scheme for semiconductors. Now there's this whole ecosystem of Make in India, and of course with the whole trends, mega trends or pressure points, if you might say, which is definitely a win-win situation, I would say, kind of ecosystem it creates for building automation systems, and of course I said pandemic as well. But I think it's important to understand, and that's where the real role of INBAC, I would say, would come into play, because we definitely have a lack of harmonization. We are working as silo. There's a silo approach, whether it is working in different smart city projects, or whether it is different projects on whether in solar systems, rooftops. There's a siloed approach on energy management. There's a siloed approach on efficiency. So I think that siloed approach is something which is not good and needs to be plugged in. I think the existing building infra, I think one of the panels did allude to that in terms of retrofitting, and how do we address that, and how do we ensure that those buildings also become smart, and what's the role which INBAC has to play. And I see the biggest challenge is it's not only with building automation systems, but I think it is with multiple industries. It's with the payment industry. It is with other industries where there's a power sector where we have these challenges of communication and interoperability, mismatch of protocols, and it will have challenges in the long run, because what I believe is that if there is no standardization, it stifles innovation. It doesn't give OEMs or the end customers to have a choice of multiple products, and that's where the scale is not there, and therefore if it stifles innovation, if it doesn't allow R&D, if it doesn't allow multiple manufacturers to be there, and ultimately it doesn't serve the end purpose as well. Therefore, I think there's this challenge of how do we address these challenges of interoperability or communication protocols of automation or automated devices across sectors or across segments within a building is something which needs to be addressed. And I think that's where INBAC has definitely a great role to play. And I think they have to be at the center stage. because of their engagement with multiple stakeholders, because they are at the center stage, and that's where they have to lead. And I know already we heard about their standards roadmap, we heard about the education outreach program, but I think the INBAC's role is so critical, and that's why I said you will have to engage with stakeholders. Now, those stakeholders can be international stakeholders or local stakeholders who are doing incredible work in their own spaces, but we don't want to have those silos. And I think from a policy front, from a regulations front, or from a demand driver standpoint, it is very, very critical to identify and engage with those stakeholders, whether it is Minister of Electronics or whether it is Minister of Urban Development or state level smart city missions. It is very, very critical, because we don't want multiple silos to be. It has to be a common protocol. It has to be a kind of a common standards where everyone can innovate and sort of work through. And therefore, we'll have to identify those gaps. And identify gaps. Where are those gaps? In terms of whether they are cybersecurity standard gaps, there are gaps in communication protocols. I think that's very, very critical. And prioritize the areas, especially as we are sort of making these smart buildings, we'll have to prioritize them and eventually develop harmonized standards. Now, I have been hearing the standards, and with due respect to the panelists here in terms of standards, I sort of want to take this discussion to the next level from standards. I would rather say that we will have to, and this come in one of the slides when Sudhir Pandit Rao was speaking in terms of conformity assessment programs and schemes, because I think standard is a standard, protocol is a protocol, unless and until there's an implementation framework. And it doesn't matter whether it is through a regulatory mechanism, or is it through a market mechanism. I think it's always better if we create those mechanisms in terms of implementation. At the end of the day, that's the key. And no matter we make best of the best standards, if there is no implementation, it remains as a standard. And therefore, I think I would impress more on implementation framework. How do we ensure that we have programs in place? How do we ensure that if there are third parties who can assure us, well, these protocols are being followed, and of course we have what we'll say, common understanding among whether these industry players across sectors and INBAC members in terms of, yes, this is how we have to demonstrate in terms of, yes, we have made this protocol, but they are being also implemented on ground. And I think there's a lot which we can do with respect to R&D and supporting the MSMEs. And I think INBAC has a critical role to play here. And India definitely has to become if they have to become an outsourcing hub, we have lot to play here. I will leave this slide, and if there are any questions, would love to take them, and would be really humble to take those questions as well. But I think we have lived through pre-pandemic, and we are actually going through pandemic. We're seeing those tough situations as well. But I think this is a classic case of how we have to rethink about smart buildings, and how innovation has to come play a role here. And I think therefore it is important that we need to have an integrated systems approach rather than a silos, product-based, segment-based approach. I don't think that's going to work through. So the solution would be definitely that we need to have an integrated system approach, because that's how the pandemic has sort of taught us. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Wow, that was such an enriching talk. Thank you, Sudhir, for bringing in the clarity about government and stakeholders' initiatives towards the vision of achieving maximum net zero buildings, and how INBAC Association plays the key role of building a harmonized standards ecosystem. Yes, implementation of standards is definitely the need of the hour. Thank you so much.
Now it's time to welcome our very own Sakhi Chandrayan.
Hello again.
Thank you.
Hi, Sakhi.
Hi, Sakhi. She's a social entrepreneur with industry experience of more than 20 years. She's the founder and president of INBAC Association. Hi, Sakhi. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Now we will have an interesting rapid fire round with Sakhi. Sakhi, are you ready?
So, girls, before you started, I just want to remind you that I'm your friend and this is a rapid fire, not roasting session.
Let's see.
Fire away.
So, what is the key aspect, according to you, that makes a building smart?
The building has to be connected, interoperable.
Which crucial attribute do you think any building must preliminarily require to sustain?
Measurement and control.
You just have to answer in a word, Sakhi.
Okay.
Right, so moving on to the okay. So now if you have to categorize these aspects for a building with respect to their importance, how would you do so? And it goes like energy efficiency, cyber security, and connectivity.
Connectivity, energy efficiency, cyber security. Actually, all three are on the top right now.
Great. So that was awesome, Sakhi. Now we'll move to the next round. And whenever we say a word, you have to answer what comes to your mind. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Green.
Soothing.
Opportunity.
Useful.
Secure.
Building.
Community.
Building automation.
Technology.
The optimized one.
And finally, INBAC.
A community dedicated to technology with social impact.
All right. So it was a fantastic rapid fire round, I think, Sakhi. And thank you so much. But unfortunately, we don't have a hamper for you.
That's all right.
But before you leave, we would request you to tell us that special story that you keep telling us about building automation. Will you?
That would be my honor. This is a story which has touched my heart, and I keep on sharing with all the stakeholders in building automation in India. Once I was a panelist in one of the panel discussions, and we were having some rounds wherein we were talking about what are the questions coming, who is preparing what, whose answer comes after what, and who are picking up what aspects. And we started talking about BMS. Suddenly, the user there asked me, Sakhi, do you know BMS? I said, yeah, of course I know. I have, got career into it. And then he said, do you know what is BMSW? And I was like amazed. What is BMSW? So many years in this field, I have never heard this, word at all. And he was like, he started laughing. So you have to tell me what is BMSW. They said, we users call it BMS, which works. It was good as a joke, but it also questioned. Yeah. So it brought a lot of questions and it proved that we actually need a community which will create trust, which will create a rapid trust with the consumers, with the building automation users, that it works and it brings benefit to your doorstep. These have connected buildings. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you
That's
so much.
wonderful. Thank you, Sakhi.
Thank you, girls.
That's wonderful. Now, let's move on to the next section of this event. And I'll invite all the speakers on stage for a question answer round. May I request all the speakers to come on stage? Hi, Swapnil. Hi, Salvatore. Okay, this first question goes to Swapnil. Here they ask, what are the top 3 priorities, in your opinion, for smart infrastructure of digital India and why?
So again, and I did mention about it. And these all get aggregated to the 3 drivers that I spoke about, right? And I spoke about decarbonize, democratize, and digitalize. The important part around infrastructure is that we need to create and build an infrastructure that is safe, sustainable, and secure, which also means that infrastructure needs to be instrumented, interconnected, and intelligent, right? The overall impact of what we build on the environment is something that is of importance. When you design a building, when you design infrastructure, it is important that we pay importance and we give the focus has to be on the building life cycle, right from the stage when you design a building to the way you operate the building to the way when after 60 years when you demolish the building, get in aspects around circularity and stuff like that are instrumental in the way the infrastructure has to be designed today. So that's around decarbonization, designing the building. Democratization is an important aspect and a key consideration, in the overall strategy when you design smart cities, when you design your infrastructure. It is important that you create equitable access to all sections of the society in the built environment, right? So your built environment needs to be accessible. It needs to be inclusive, right? I mean, while working on projects around smart cities, we were conceptualizing smart cities. We realized that we were not giving importance to creation of ramps for physically disabled people, right? So your infrastructure needs to be inclusive. That is something called as democratizing. When I talk about instrumented, interconnected, and intelligent, it is of course using the digital technologies to ensure that your buildings are operated efficiently. And then there are technologies such as building information modeling, digital twins that essentially help you to operate your buildings right and effectively. Yeah.
Thank you, Swapnil. That was quite insightful. Next question goes to Salvatore. Could you please tell us about BACnet SC? That's someone from the viewer.
Yes, sure. The subject is quite wide. I believe an important aspect is that we talk about cybersecurity when we talk about BACnet SC, BACnet Secure Connect. That is a transport layer of BACnet, where basically is a way to secure the BACnet channel and to build secure BACnet interconnections. It's a brand new concept in BACnet, but a really well-established concept in IT. And basically, it has an impact on different stakeholders, not only in the design of the network, but also in the management of these networks. It allows, for instance, the manager of the BMS to specify which controller can connect to the network and the identity of this controller by means of a really high-level encryption, high-level state-of-the-art of encryption technology. So from the point of view of the benefits for the building, this will definitely create an interoperable way to interconnect distinct networks through a secure channel. This is extremely important, the interoperability of this method, because actually we can secure a backnet network in many different ways. If we are talking about a serial connection, we can have an iron tube and make our cable go through this tube. But if we have the IP network, we can create a VPN, but all these solutions are not interoperable. It means only a specific manufacturer, a specific provider will provide that specific solution. With BACnet SC, the goal is to provide interoperability in creating an encrypted channel. This is the most important thing, I believe.
Thank you, Salvatore, for that. And I hope the query is answered from the viewer. So the next one's to you. Could you share your thoughts on PPP, that is public-private partnerships?
Is it more specific to standards development, or is it conformity assessment, or is it general in terms of how a public-private partnership works?
Okay, I think there's nothing specifically mentioned, but I think we can speak about around standards.
Maybe I will. So I think we need to understand that public-private partnership, as far as standardization or developing, schemes of implementation, it is very, very critical that we have that, relationship of bringing, because at the end of the day, what can private sector bring? It brings the thought leadership. It brings technical expertise. It brings experience from multiple markets. Like Swapnil also mentioned, he's worked on a lot of smart cities projects. But I think we have seen smart city projects across multiple geographies in the world where there have been some failures, which have been some learnings, so that we don't make the same mistakes in the sense. I think there has been some good case studies in terms of where public-private partnership has worked. I know for sure for WISAC, where several of the technology companies have been engaged in the smart cities projects, where they have sort of done a lot of analytics and data which could help in some of the project implementation. I think in the standards framework, if I specifically talk about, I think there's a lot which INBAC as a neutral forum, if I would say, can engage with through its members. At the end of the day, it is through the members which the expertise of thought leadership has to come. And in that, if we bring this best practices of global best practices of standards and conformity assessment per se in the building automation system, along with the stakeholders, whether it is state level government machinery or smart city missions, I think that would be a fantastic win-win situation of driving the whole ecosystem, because I think the resources with the government are limited, but I think with the private sector, there's this expertise and thought leadership which can be a win-win situation for all of us.
Yeah, thank you, Sudhir, for that. And that's quite good in terms of how we kind of balance both of them. Next question goes to Swapnil. According to you, how INBAC can continue to the vision that you shared about going carbon neutral? So INBAC as in INBAC like organizations who are a neutral platform.
Yeah, INBAC as organizations, and again in all my interactions with Sakhi, could be those incubation centers, if you will, that creates room for innovation, right? I mean, it is extremely important to take in input from multiple stakeholders, keeping sustainability at the back of the mind. So there is room for innovation. There is development of quality standards and regulations, if you will. Also create help create better infrastructure. One of the other important aspects for organizations like INBAC could also be guiding people towards improved access to capital to create sustainable and smart infrastructure. Also, the transfer of skills and knowledge could be another goal for INBAC to play in the larger ecosystem today.
Thank you, Swapnil. Now what I'll do is I'll ask, there's this question that probably, everybody can answer one by one. Does digitization apply only to large buildings or can be effective for small and medium ones as well? Effective from the perspective, I would say, in terms of the investment and the, output. So, Swapnil, you would like to go first? I see you smiling.
In fact, the only reason why we were able to navigate the pandemic and the lockdowns was because of our digital adoption, right? So it's not about just the buildings, right? Digitalization has allowed us to go from what we call as isolation to inclusion, right? I mean, 94% of our MSMEs have relied on information technology during the lockdown. So it is but prudent to say that digitalization plays a very important role across all spheres, all sectors, all levels of the economy. In fact, the organization that I work for, we were able to ensure that 94% of the 240,000 employees that we have were digitally equipped so that work for the customers went on uninterrupted. So right from people selling vegetables, people doing writing software codes, digitalization played a very important role. It's just not restricted to buildings.
I agree with you, Swapnil. I think you said, even the street vendors. So I think WhatsApp could be the very small mode of digitization that they use to, communicate. Thank you. Salvatore, would you want to answer next?
Yes, sure. I agree with what Swapnil has said. I wonder how could we limit digitalization and therefore automation to a specific kind of building or to specific sides of building. This is not possible because digitalization is growing with us. The technologies we are using are used today, every day by every one of us. And we can see many associations, many activities around the world to converge to some technologies with the idea of offering always better digital services to the inhabitant, to the occupant of the house, of the building, of the office, of the factory. The convergence is made on the concept of what you can get from digitalization. And this has nothing to do with the specific size of the building, but has to do with the experience of the occupant, of the building occupant. So digitalization will have an impact and is having an impact on every kind of building and therefore automation, obviously. This was important also, standardization, because the user that is consuming these services has to be in some way protected or supported in all those aspects he is not aware of, while the standards can be aware and can support. I think this is quite a big change in our era, in our life.
Thank you, Salvatore, for sharing your thoughts. Sudhir, would like to hear from your side.
So I think we are not talking about smart buildings. We are not talking about smart homes. I mean, this might feel that in US and other parts of the world, smart homes are there. I think in India, there is also a reality of smart homes. I mean, small houses or a large house or a building. I'm talking independent residential houses. If I want to have a rooftop solar system, and then I also want to have a battery system, I want to have a solar water heater, and then I also have a smart meter within my system. So, and then gadgets. I mean, I have appliances. I use the air conditioner. I use a HVAC system. I use washing machine, a refrigerator. I want to really see how much energy I'm consuming. And then I have a net meter and producing the energy on the rooftop, and then wanting to see how much consumption is there. It's all about digitization, and I think that's a reality. We can't undermine that. So I think it is here, and everybody. It doesn't matter whether it's a large building or whether it is a small residential house. And with these energy efficiency programs and climate change initiatives, it will become definitely mandatory for many of the homes in the country to have smart homes and eventually smart meters or net metering systems and other things and all that. So we can't deny that, and it's here.
So true, yeah. It's like the air that we breathe. It's there. Salvatore, this question is for you. Can there be central agencies to maintain multiple buildings from one location and have data analytics to monitor online real time and suggest improvements to retain or take them towards a goal of being carbon neutral?
Yes, for sure there are, and in different countries we can see similar approaches to how to regulate this, because in these subjects there are some aspects that are quite important about data protection, the identification of the people using the information, owning the information, and the possibility to understand or to infer the behavior of the people once we have this information. So real-time measuring is technically something extremely today feasible. It implies some aspect that has to be taken in consideration. So different countries are having similar approaches sometimes. Some are more strict, some less. But from the point of view, from the technical point of view, this is not anymore an obstacle or a problem or a great challenge.
Thank you, Salvatore, for that. Swapnil, there is a question from a young participant. It's a little personal, but I think this will kind of help a lot of young minds as well. So he says, as a guide and expert in the industry, could you help? If the person is an ELV engineer, can he have a career in BMS design?
Yeah, I mean, you can have a career, you can make a career for yourself in any stream that you want, right? Not just limited to ELV and BMS. But for you to be able to make a career in the building automation industry, it is extremely important for all of us to understand how the building operates, right? The buildings are no longer masses of concrete and cement and stuff like that, right? The buildings are more intuitive today. They are live enterprises, if you will. It is important for us to understand that for people to work effectively in a building, to ensure that their cognitive functions actually do the work that they are supposed to do, it is important that the buildings are healthy and safe and sustainable. And building automation and building management systems are the means and the guides to enable these. Learning technology is important. It is as much as being an IT engineer or a software engineer as being a building management systems engineer. But I would recommend the young individual to keep his vision broad, just not focus on building management systems, but look at the entire building life cycle holistically for him to be able to take make a choice.
Thank you, Swapnil. Salvatore also was trying to, agree to whatever you said. You have something to add on to?
Absolutely. Having the big picture brings for sure new perspective and new opportunities, keeps the mind open, because the idea of BMS changed a lot in the last 10 years. And today we are much more interconnected to one another. And the goal is exactly that one. You can make a career in an industry, not just thinking of a specific application, but getting the best of what you can provide to that industry. So open-minded and watching at the big picture. Yeah.
Thanks, Salvatore. Sudhir, one question for you. How can MSME and startup infrastructure be strengthened in India?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I know Swapnil is smiling. And I think, I believe that if you see some of the examples of the startups and some of them we have worked with, they have started room houses and had a solid business case, solid product which was problem at the end of the day. I think sky has been the limit from them. We have been working with some great companies while we have worked them on compliance, and they have started with, let's say, 2 rooms exporting to 98 markets. So I think oftentimes, well, I do respect, sometimes we look for some of the support and initiatives from the government, which is obvious. But I think it is your resilience. It's if you have a right business case, if you have a right solution for the market, I think the angel investors or the fundraising is not very difficult, and these days especially these days. So I think what I would suggestion to them would be the status, so that they are small, 1-room shop. If there's a great idea, if that great idea can solve some problem, at the end of the day, there are takers for it and there are investors for it, and there it goes. Yes, if there's another route also. Sometimes they look for incentives from the government. I think MSME ministry themselves, they are supporting a lot to create those startup incubation centers. They are also supporting in terms of hand-holding and capacity building, market development. If they need to go, there's a support. There's a funding scheme from the government of India in terms of market development initiatives. If they want to go trade fairs, expose their products to multiple markets. So there is that's the other way around. But it depends on the product, the solution, and the solution you're offering. But I would say that my experience since last 5-6 years, and having worked on some of these worked with some of these incredible Indian minds with startup mentality. I think they have because they were successful, because they had a great product, they had a great business model, and yes, investors loved the idea and they put money, and that's why they are there. And we have several examples.
Wow, that's really inspiring, and could sense the excitement from your statement. Swapnil, I think you would want to add something here.
Yeah, my first reaction was, thank God the question is not directed towards me. Otherwise, I would have said I'll let this pass. But very, very important that we need to look at is, in addition to what they've said, is also the mindset, right? I mean, there are no shortcuts to success. Guys, let's accept this fact. The startups are great innovation hubs these days, right? I mean, you have some of the best ideas that come out from the startups or the MSME sector, if you will. It is important for them to keep a mindset and ensure that the product visibility is. It is important for their products to be visible, and for that, it is the mindset that actually matters. There are no shortcuts, right? Again, the government has a whole bunch of initiatives that help you to kickstart your programs. So as organizations like UL and Infosys and TCSs of the world, right? I mean, Infosys started as a 1-room enterprise in Pune, right? And we are close to 3 lakh employees today. So again, it's the right attitude and the mindset that actually delivers.
Thank you, Swapnil. So I think that was the last questions for today. There are more questions, but what we'll do is we'll have them sent to you separately and respond to everybody. Thank you so much, Swapnil. Thank you, Salvatore. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you so much for the interactive session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
That was quite an engaging and interesting round. Thank you all speakers. Thank you for the matter-of-fact discussion and dynamic insights. And thank you, Shraddha.
Thank you, Adrija. It was great.
Now I would request our very own Vikram to come on board and deliver the thank you note. He has been one of the first few members of INBAC Association who believed in the cause, and with his glorious industry experience enriched the journey so far. Over to you, Vikram.
Thank you again. Wow, it was a really fantastic talk session, fantastic question answer session, and everything presentation was really very well. I am feeling very proud to be part of this building automation culture where we strive to unite diverse integration and provide a single platform based open seamless solutions. That that is going to be a building block for the smart infrastructure in future. And the future with INBAC has already begun. On behalf of INBAC, I would like to specially thanks Honorable Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, Cabinet Minister, Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, for addressing us on the occasion of Building Automation Community Day. Thank you, sir, for such nice words, and we are grateful to you. I would like to thank all the viewers and audience who made themselves available amid of their busy schedule for this super energetic, knowledge enriching INTALK session. My special words of gratitude to Swapnil Joshi for sharing thoughts on smart future, decarbonization, and sustainability. You have given us the great insight about journey and destination to the future infrastructure. I expressed my gratitude to Salvatore Caditi, Belimo Automation AG, for enriching the talk on the occasion of BAC Day. As an eminent global building automation expert, thank you for your views on building automation, IoT, and on future of smart infrastructure. The case study of Belimo's new office premises in Mumbai was really very exciting, and thank you very much for the same. I tender my heartfelt thanks to Sudhir Zutchi for accepting the invitation and giving a nice talk here in INTALK. Sustainable agriculture, Green New Deal, harmonized standard ecosystem, different government initiatives and implementation framework, all the points were really well covered into your short period of time. Your inputs on smart infrastructure for Digital India was also really very valuable. On behalf of INBAC, we would like to thank our supporting organizations. They supported us throughout our journey. We are thankful to Builders Association of India, Fire and Security Association of India, FSAI, Underwriters Laboratory UL, BTL Backrate Test Laboratory, ISHRE, the Indian Society of Heating, Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Engineers, Big EU, BACnet Interest Group, Europe, and BACnet International. This INTALK wouldn't have been possible without the active involvement from BACnet International and BACnet International team. Thank you again for all your support. We are also very thankful to our INBAC proponents. These organizations motivate us to do bigger and better every time we do. We are thankful to Bekoff, Belimo, Conquer Technologies, College of Engineering Pune, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering Akurdi, Intelligent Building Consultants, Mantech Intelligence Private Limited, PC View Solutions, Schneider Electric, TechBean, and Vignaharta. Thank you all again for all your support. I would like to give special thanks to our anchors, Adrija and Shraddha. You were really wonderful today. Thank you very much for anchoring this session and making it really very interactive. Finally, all my INBAC team, it has been privileged to have colleagues like you, full of energy and dedication. My special thanks to Rajesh Adangale and Sudhir Pandit Rao for wonderful introduction and roadmap about the future plans of Standardization Committee and Education Committee, respectively. My special thanks to Santosh Raktavan and Niyant Pathak sir for coordinating with various organizations for the event, and they were both instrumental in connecting with Honorable Nitin Gadkari ji. It was really very great effort. Thank you again. Finally, I acknowledge with appreciation about Sakhi's contribution and her tremendous efforts in making this INTALK and BAC Day a reality. Thank you very much. See you again soon with yet another thought-provoking topic. Till then, take care and goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. The session is officially closed, and we all will see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.